Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. John, several weeks ago, Solido Resources announced acquisition of a large land position surrounding Lucara's Karo Diamond Mine in Botswana. The company also announced that it was ready to start large diameter drilling on its nearby BK16 pipe to collect a bulk sample. Is this a bait and switch?
Jim, I asked myself that question too when I saw the news release. Solido's currently owns 100% of the BK16 pipe, which was found in the 70s, and it is in the midst of a major bulk sample designed to demonstrate that, one, the grade is a lot better than De Beers and others thought way back then, 5 carats per 100 ton. They think it's going to be more in the 15 to 20 carats per 100 ton. And they want to confirm that these Type 2A diamonds, which are the very large, the high-value diamonds that are found in the Karo pipe, are also present in the BK16 pipe in a significant amount. So when suddenly this very large land acquisition over to the west surrounding the Karo pipe and as well as Firestone's BK11 pipe, and mentioning of alluvials in this and in the news release, I kind of wondered what is going on. Are they seeing negative news in the BK16 and already preparing to shift to a brand new play? So I did have a chance to talk to Mike DeWitt, the president of the company, and he provided me with both an update on what's happening with BK16 and the rationale behind this new acquisition they are calling Orapa South. Well, first with the BK16, they have now finished drilling the pilot holes and are setting up for the large diameter drilling. They'll move about 2 meters away from the core pilot holes, and then these 20 to 30 inch big bits, they go to work and start grinding out the bulk sample. The bulk sample will be shipped to Lucara's Karo mine, where their sampling plant will process the bulk sample in 12-meter batches. Solido is going to collect 2,000 tons, 1,000 tons from each of the two main facies that they've identified through the delineation drilling they did last year. And they should be finished with the entire program if there are no glitches by the end of September, but we're going to get the results in batches over the next 6 months, and the company intends to process it in 12-meter batches and provide reasonably regular news releases on the results. And what we'll be looking for are confirmation of grades in the 10 to 20 CPHT category, and some evidence of good-sized diamonds in terms of value and classification as to whether they're Type 2A or not. That will take a little longer, but we should start getting a steady flow of news from about sort of end of August onwards. So this program is on track. It is funded, and this could end up producing a smaller version of what used to be called the AK6 pipe, but is now the very lucrative Karo mine of Lucara. So what is with this staking all this open ground surrounding the Karo mine? I mean, well, one of the first questions I asked is, if this land was available, why would Lucara itself have not managed to pick it up itself? And why in the past 30 years of exploration have no kimberlites been found in this vast area to the west? Well, it turns out that the claims were held, tied up. A company called Kalahari Diamonds owned them and did a geophysics-based program in that area. It eventually let the claims lapse, and one individual who is known to the directors of Solido was watching for this to come open and managed to apply for them and get them. And there's two approaches that Solido is going to take. One is the geophysics was flown some time ago, the data was collected, and the company plans to go through the data and apply new algorithms to see if there can be targets teased out of this data that might still be worth checking out. Now, in this area south of Orapa, the Karoo basalts thicken. They end up getting considerably thicker. And the Karoo basalts were laid down about 150 million years ago. The Orapa kimberlites came up between 85 and 90 million years ago. So they did manage to punch through the Karoo basalt, but the Karoo basalt is magnetically noisy, so it's very difficult to pick out kimberlite targets from this type of background cover rock. Now, what intrigued me was that they are not really going after some kimberlites that somebody may have missed. Their thinking is that there's probably in the vicinity of Karoo a lot of failed kimberlite eruptions, ones that never quite blasted through the basalt cover, and others that are just too subtle and small to ever be discovered by conventional exploration. However, this whole area, all the way up north of the Orapa deposit itself, has undergone about 100 to 300 meters of erosion. So anywhere from 100 to 300 meters of basalt rock has been stripped off, and paleo channels created, the old drainage system. And the hypothesis is that these systems drained to the north. And what they're going to do is a lot of remote sensing techniques to try and map beneath the whatever 10 meters of Kalahari sand what the topography is, to try and identify these ancient drainage channels. And they know that there are these sequences of east-west dolerite dikes, which are they do not weather as easily as the rest of the stuff, and they can serve as traps for alluvial deposits. So it's kind of trying to find ancient diamond deposits. And the idea is to go in there, and once they have this all mapped out, these potential paleo channels, to go there with a drill and just collect samples down to the bedrock. And what they're really looking for is collections of the heavy minerals, such as the ilmenites and the garnets and the diamonds. The heavier minerals will all have concentrated in these pockets. And if they start finding these indicator minerals, then they know that they're in an alluvial deposit. And then, of course, becomes the bigger question of, okay, how do you measure this? Now, this would not be interesting if the Karoo pipe wasn't already demonstrated to be producing like fabulous diamonds like the 1600 carat diamond that they recovered a couple of years ago, which is actually broken into two pieces. The idea here is that these diamonds that have eroded from Karoo and any number of other dikes in that may have carried these type 2 diamonds could have concentrated them in these paleo channels to the north of the Karoo pipe and sort of surrounding the BK11 pipe, which does not have any evidence of type 2A diamonds. And this could be a very interesting strategy. The reason they own this very large land position is you have to discard 50% of your land every 2 years. So they picked up a very large chunk so that they can do the work, make sure there's no geophysical targets left that could be entire pipes in their own right, and then just narrow the focus over the next 4 to 6 years to this area roughly to the north of the Karoo pipe and to the south, just in case the drainage was to the south, and set the stage for finding alluvial diamond deposits that carry type 2A diamonds. So this is not a bait and switch. It's a supplement. If the BK16 pipe ends up being what they hope it is an obvious acquisition target for Lucara. And then having developed this alluvial potential surrounding the Karoo pipe itself would, of course, make it even more attractive to Lucara.
Highway 50 published an update this week for its Monroe Z-Link project. The stock faded into the mid-30-cent range. Is the hunt for Sullivan 2 over?
No, it is not, but the market's reaction, there wasn't a big sell-off or anything. The bids just faded and some shares dribbled out, and all of a sudden, instead of being in the 50 to 60 cent range, Highway 50 is in the 30 to 40 cent range on light volume. We're seeing this across the board. The market is becoming absolutely merciless when it isn't seeing confirmation of high expectation results. In this case, they had paused drilling in in late April to allow for spring breakup. They, with hole number 1, they had drilled it to 815 meters. They re-entered it, drilled it to 1,079 meters. And in this extra 170 meters, they did not get what they would call economic or even sub-economic lead-zinc mineralization, but they did get evidence of it, like anomalous disseminations within this intersection. And they now believe this is an uplifted block of rock. So wherever this is related to is deeper. They also see it as peripheral to the source. So it's the geological context that has them very happy. But of course, it's all mumbo jumbo talk in the news release. So the market doesn't really get it. It wants them to go and find it. They are going to do a hole number 4 step out from this one. So to target an area about 400 meters north, they're basically creating a 3-dimensional map of this area on the Monroe project because of all this local faulting, horse blocks coming up and others down dropping and so on. You need to gradually piece it together to find out where that Cedex pancake that has the 10 to 20% combined lead-zinc mineralization is located within this context. So, no, there is smoke. There is still reason to believe there is a fire, and this project's still intact, and they have enough money to keep drilling these next few holes.
Discovery Watch with John Kaiser. We'll be back right after the break.
I'm Bill McWilliam, president of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the 4th largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with John Kaiser. John, New Legacy published an update for its Iceberg Gold project in Nevada, and the market had a negative reaction. Is this more smoke but no fire?
They have definitely come up with more smoke in the avocado anomaly of the Iceberg project in Nevada. Here they had a couple of deep holes last year, which really intrigued the market. It's this Carlin type mineralization with sulfides at depth. They had a big IP anomaly which represents sulfides, but they've drilled 2 holes this year, and they started in April, and they've had very difficult drilling conditions, and they got the assays from one that they drilled 1,000 feet or something like that. And they came back with next to nothing, just very anomalous smoke, less than before. And they're sort of scratching their head, wondering where are the sponges where this where the gold will have concentrated. Because it is possible in Nevada that you can have fluid flow going through the rocks and just infusing everything with the toxics, antimony, arsenic, but just leave a faint trace of gold. If you do not find the right structural trap, you will not get the big deposit. So they have one more hole there that they are awaiting for assays. This one they expect to have that in a few weeks. They will continue deepening the 4th hole from 1,400 feet. They're switching from RC rig to core rig. And they're going to take that to about 2,100 feet. So hopefully that we end up getting some joy in this hole. But if we do not, they're going to have to sit back, and they'll have probably the final results by the end of August. They have to sit back and rethink the avocado anomaly. Now, where I think the market was also disappointed is last year they did a IP survey over the iceberg zone, and they have sort of the north, central, and south zone, and this is a lower grade oxide gold mineralization. Probably needs a better gold price to be worth mining as an open pit mine. It's sort of the consolation prize on this property, but they detected some deep IP anomalies, which they interpreted to be sulfides, and the theory emerged that the mineralization they have been drilling at surface is essentially leakage, remobilized mineralization from a deeper classic Carlin type system, such as you see at Cortez Hills or in the Carlin trend itself. And the first hole that they drilled into this intersected something that they didn't quite expect. There are these mafic intrusions which contain a lot of pyrite. There's no gold in it. They believe that the pyrite associated with these mafic intrusions explains the sulfide anomaly. They've got one more hole there for which they are also awaiting results. Looks a little bit more interesting, but the hopes that there is a major gold sulfide system beneath the iceberg oxides, that hope has diminished somewhat. So the company's now stepping to the west on what they call the Vio target, which is an undrilled area. It's a gold and soil anomaly. And they're also finally going to tackle the Jasperoid Basin area to the east. Pretty rocks, very hard, silicified. Usually the Jasperoids themselves don't carry any mineralization in Nevada, but they'll be drilling some holes through that to see what is underneath. So this is a year where they're not trying to build ounces, they're trying to discover new ounces, and so far the results have been somewhat disappointing, but the company will have $10 million left by the time it finishes this program, so it's not the end of the story, it's just a sign of the market's impatience for those barn burner results that tell you that you're in discovery delineation mode.
Barrick recently optioned 70% of the Cortez Summit project from Carlin Gold. Is Carlin Gold a Discovery Watch candidate?
Now, it's interesting. Carlin Gold is headed by Wayne Livingston, who's had this company forever. The Cortez Summit property is across the valley from the Iceberg project, which Barrick at one time owned, and New Legacy farmed into it. New Legacy vested for 100%. Barrick had a right to back in for 70%, but instead elected to convert to an equity stake, and New Legacy has that 100%. Now, the Cortez Summit project is north of the Gold Rush system, where Barrick has outlined about 15 million plus medium to high grade ounces. But Barrick has been chasing a new target to the north of it, what it calls the 4 Mile structural zone, and it has stated that it has affinities to the deep post mineralization that's found in the Carlin trend itself. It's different from the Gold Rush mineralization, and this parent structure projects underneath the Cortez Summit property, where Carlin Gold did drill it several years ago, but did not really get anything encouraging. So Barrick has collared a hole in the southwest part of this property, a deep hole. They can earn 70% by spending $5 million over the next 3 years, and they have to spend $500,000 this year. So this area will definitely get a good shot at seeing if this so-called 4 Mile structural zone does project onto Carlin Gold's property. Interestingly, Carlin Gold attracted a few years ago Electrum Gold as a substantial shareholder. Electrum Gold is a fund controlled by Tom Kaplan, New York-based Tom Kaplan, who has teamed up with John Paulson to invest in a whole number of juniors, including Nova Gold for its Donlin Gold project, Donlin Creek project, as well as Gabriel for its Romanian gold project. So it'll be interesting to see if this drilling by Barrick, which is clearly going after a specific target, delivers a discovery that turns this little junior, which does not have a huge amount of shares out and still nets 30% at the end of the day, turns it into a surprise success this summer for Nevada.
We'll have more from John Kaiser right after this.
Lotus Ventures Inc. is a BC-based medical marijuana company poised to launch into the rapidly evolving cannabis sector. Lotus is in the final review stage of the Health Canada approvals to become a licensed producer, having arranged facility financing of up to $12 million, plus building permits for its prototype indoor production facility. Shares trade under the symbol J on the Canadian Securities Exchange. Visit our website at lotusventures.ca.
I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic Engineer Gold Mine in the Atlant District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
Welcome back. John, how is Nevada Exploration doing with its groundwater sampling strategy in the Kelly Creek Basin area to the north?
The company has been fairly quiet in the last while, but I recently caught up with Wade Hodges, who indicated that the Scorpion rig that they have created has now completed 48 holes down to a depth of 100 to 400 feet. And the 400 feet is the sort of limit for the current rig, simply because that's all the pipe that they had to drill these holes. Now, what the Scorpion rig does is it's a modified RC rig whose purpose is to drill through the basin gravels and enable the collection of both groundwater samples, which can be collected from whatever depth that the drill is at, and to collect samples of the alluvium itself and dig maybe 6-10 meters into bedrock. So it's like a multi-purpose tool that goes beyond the geoprobe that they had before for collecting groundwater samples. It's able to provide samples of the material that's very close to the bedrock interface, which often has lag deposits, mineralized material scraped from somewhere else and dragged nearby. And then, of course, map the basement, because what nobody knows is what is the geology of the bedrock under the Nevada basins, which is basically the original land downdropped as a result of this rifting extension event that happened 15 million years ago, which was 15 to 25 million years after all these Carlin-type gold deposits were laid down. So the whole purpose of this is to create a better way to track down hidden blind gold deposits under the gravel cover. And they haven't had much to say, because one of the labs that processes the water samples for gold and the other toxics that are markers for Carlin-type mineralization, it has had a problem, so they have not been getting the turnaround on the samples as quickly as they wanted. However, they have reported getting very low anomalous gold values in alluvium near the bedrock interface. They're starting to put together a three-dimensional picture. They're starting to vector in on what they see as a high-angle fault-controlled target. And in this area, it's probably upper plate is the bedrock. This is where you're going to find something like the Lone Tree deposit, a 5 million ounce deposit, which has since been mined out. This is the target there. So they are working on this. They are not yet in a position to tell us what all they have found, but they're still at it, and they are very pleased with the Scorpion rig. 75% of the holes penetrated bedrock, and they've worked out the kinks in it, and they're ready to start going on a full-blown commercial scale sampling campaign.
Has anything else caught your attention in Nevada that deserves to be part of Discovery Watch?
Well, on this topic of blind targets in Nevada, I mean, this is where you're going to find major new discovery. the new Discovery Watch candidate is NV Gold, which is John Watson's company. It picked up a lot of the Nevada projects that Red Star once had. Red Star is now focused on the Yunga epithermal project in Alaska. The property that deserves to be watched closely is what they call the ATV project, which is short for Across the Valley from the Twin Creeks mine, which is a 20 million ounce deposit found in the 80s, which is now operated by Newmont, and it's across this Kelly Creek Basin Valley, and the ATV property has been a bit of a teaser for many decades, because this area is part of what's called a checkerboard, which is like every alternating square mile claim was granted to Santa Fe when it built the railroad for so and so many miles on each side of the track. And these checkerboard claims had both surface rights and mineral rights. And Newmont at some point bought out Santa Fe and owns much of the checkerboard in Nevada. But in this area, the checkerboard ended up being owned by a family of ranchers who, over the years, refused to do any deal with various parties that wanted to consolidate the BLM squares with the private squares in this area. And John Watson has managed to now stitch this all together into a coherent land position covering the southern part, the southwestern part of the Snowstorm Mountain range, and also covering part of the basin. They've done a so-called BLEG sampling program, where literally they go up into the hills and in the streams and collect a bag of gravel and stuff and fill it with water and then shake it all up and then filter out the water and collect the clay that's in the water, and then they send that for assaying. And in Nevada, when you do this anywhere, background gold is 1.5 to 2 ppb, parts per billion. And what they have in this area is an anomaly above 2 parts per billion. So that's telling them that this area has gold potential. Now, you would think that, okay, Twin Creeks is on the other side of the valley, and then there's the turquoise and Getchell deposits also on that side. Why would this area not have had prospectors crawl all over it and find anything if there is there? Well, the problem with the Snowstorm Mountains is that they have a younger cover of volcanic rocks, basically a lava flow that obscured the carbonates that would have been there present 30, 40 million years ago when the gold mineralization came into the system. And of course, in the basin itself, it's all covered with gravel. You can't see what's in there. So this is a completely blind target. They're quite pleased with the fieldwork that they've done, because they've also managed to come up with the Paleozoic carbonate samples that tell them, well, there is something underneath here. It isn't just these young volcanics that aren't going to host anything. And they're going to be starting an 18-hole drill program as soon as they can get a rig. Right now, Nevada is so busy that almost all rigs are booked up until the end of the year. So, I mean, this is one reason I'm optimistic that by the end of the year, we're going to see news come out. There's an awful lot of exploration drilling going on, not just in Nevada, but in Canada, where we could see that big discovery hole that suddenly gets everybody excited. Now, what's interesting about the NV Gold's ATV project is that to the north, Seabridge has moved into Nevada. Now, Seabridge is Rudy Frank's company that has the KSM deposit in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia. And they just picked up the Snowstorm project from John Paulson, who is the big hedge fund manager who made the big score and with his big short of all the securitized real estate mortgages back in 2008. He invested in a private company put together by Winrow, a geologist who's been around in Nevada for a long time. And this is an area sort of just north of the Snowstorm Mountains, north of the Twin Creeks project. And they spent around $40 million on this project. They're drilling very deep holes based on some sort of theory that here's an intersection of different structures. It's all coming together here. When we drill deep, we're going to find another Carlin type system. Seabridge has just acquired this project for about $11 million worth of stock, plus future payments conditional on reaching certain milestones. But it's significant that big companies with large market cap who originally were sort of just optionality plays on gold are now stepping into Nevada and acquiring big land positions that clearly require a discovery in order to end up being worth something. So this is not that far from the ATV project. In between there is the old Jake Creek project that Evolving Gold had when Quentin Hennig was with them. They drilled holes on that target in the basin and came up with smoke. Quentin, who is also on the board of ATV and ultimately after he left Evolving Gold to focus on Novo, his company which is developing Witwatersrand style paleoplacer targets in Australia, he suggested you got to go to the southeast from where we are, to the south and southwest. And of course the problem back then was you could never get that checkerboard together. John Watson has stitched it together. It's a very interesting area. In fact, out in the middle of the basin is something they call the Knolls, which Santa Fe explored. They drilled many holes into it, got hundreds of feet of 0.01 ounce per ton gold, but could never quite get the higher grades that they got at Twin Creeks. So we know this whole basin has had fluid flow through it that was gold mineralized. And this ATV project, with its Bleg target in the hills and a number of interpreted gravity highs in the basin itself that they believe are uplifted blocks called horsts, they'll be testing all of those as soon as they can get a rig, which will probably not be until August, but could provide us with a surprise later this fall.
John, thanks for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. Discovery Watch will be back next week. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at howstreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.